you understand how dark it is, how far down the line we are, how late it is?
Movie star, former top professional wrestler, a Little League volunteer coach, I guess, a Navy SEAL.
Football coach.
A football coach. And you also called national football, too, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked 2 years for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Gene Deckeroff on the radio, and then 1 year with the Minnesota Vikings.
All right. Well, Governor Ventura, it's good to have you back with us. I appreciate you spending time with us. What is most important on your mind right now happening in the world? What is angering Jesse Ventura, and what is exciting Jesse Ventura? What's negative and what's positive?
Well, Jesse's never angry, Alex. You know that. I'm just enthusiastic, that's all. I don't get mad, I get even. No, I guess what perturbs me is the feeling that I guess I'm not mainstream anymore by some of the things that I believe. And when I talk to people and do the press junket on the book tour, I find so often that people are just poo-pooing this torture issue. They're making it seem like, well, these people deserve to be tortured if anyone on the planet does, and therefore it's okay to do it. And I'm appalled over that, because we have to be a country that goes by the rule of law, even when the rule of law is inconvenient or not maybe in our favor. We still. Otherwise, what do we stand for, Alex, if we just do it when it works for us? And I just am really pushed today as to why I have to defend my country from torturing people. I never believed I'd have to do that.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, it's fundamental that the Nazis and the Soviets and the rest of them tortured people, and so they were the bad guys. The North Vietnamese tortured people, so they were the bad guys. And Pol Pot did it, so they were the bad guys. Now they have the nerve to make Jack Bauer the hero on TV, and he tortures people to get answers. And then now we've got big Republicans coming out on Fox News. We have the clip saying, go ahead and just kill everybody at Guantanamo Bay without a trial. And then we have this Army colonel coming out saying, in the New York Post and USA Today, Ralph Peters saying, kill U.S. media in future wars that criticize the government. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't. You know, I'm not as well read on the topics always as you are, Alex. Many of the stuff I hear from you for the first time. You know, people need to understand the large picture here, that there's an old saying that one of my best friends that I grew up with, his father, he passed away a couple years ago in his 90s, who was a good friend of my father. We were young boys together, and our fathers actually grew up together. And he used to always make the saying that you never let the camel get its nose under the tent. And, of course, what he meant by that is if a camel gets his nose under the tent, rest assured eventually the whole body is going to get in the tent. It's inevitable.
Give them an inch, they'll take you a mile.
Exactly, the same philosophy. And so when we take an attitude on this torturing that, well, it's okay under certain instances, well, get ready, because we're not going to end it there. It's man's natural aggression and power that it's going to expand, and pretty soon, you know, when people, like I had someone defend it by saying that, well, our Constitution says that it only protects American citizens, so if you're not an American citizen, you're not protected by our Constitution. Well, to that I say hogwash, because that would be the equivalent then if a tourist came to America and was arrested for something, that we could take that tourist in and waterboard them.
Exactly.
To find out what they know.
Well, the Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal, and that this was a document for the whole world, and that it was only pointing out basic rights that were already there. Plus, the military admits the intelligence they get from torture is A, no good, and B, how are we going to say other countries are bad when they torture our people?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm left today, Alex, hanging my head, feeling now, how do I defend America when I'm abroad? Because, you know, I live in a foreign country half the year now. How can I defend America when we've tortured people now? And it's not just Guantanamo. We tortured them in Iraq, And think of this for a moment. We're the invaders. We invaded Iraq, and then we torture people after we invade. I will never forgive George Bush and Dick Cheney for what they've done to my country.
Well, I mean, I certainly share those views, Governor Ventura.
And you asked me what the negatives were. There you got it. Now, you want the positives?
Yes, we're about to break, but I do want to hear the positives when we get back because I really do want to get your perspective on things and talk about your book, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, now in paperback. I was reading that's doing quite well.
Yeah, it's doing very good. I'm very happy with it and look forward to it being out there.
Absolutely. Former Minnesota governor, best-selling author, many times over, Jesse Ventura, and, of course, you all know him from The Running Man and Predator and many other great films. Two of my favorite films there with Ventura going, I've been killing guys for years with all this crap. We'll be right back. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. The good old folks at New Silver Solution. And the website is supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. This is something that kills bacteria, viruses, you name it, well documented. They've got it down to a super small nano-sized particle. Supernaturalsilver.com. Check them out at Infowars.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to open the phones up for Jesse Ventura at 1-800-259-9231 because listeners can always bring up questions and angles and ideas that I would have never thought to ask great guests like Mr. Ventura, former governor of Minnesota, new book out in paperback, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. But Jesse, what's positive that you see in the world going on right now?
I see us communicating. And I give kudos to President Obama for that, because we should always talk with anyone before going to war with them. You know, people don't realize that war should be the last option. War is the result of failed diplomacy. It's a result of failed politics, and it should be always left as the last resort. And it seems we've gotten into a mode now that it's become the first resort. And I'm not saying we shouldn't defend ourselves. Of course we should. But we should always be available to talk and communicate. I love the fact that there's a realm of communication going on now as rough as it is between Washington and Cuba. If you didn't hear, Alex, I came out and said that I would love to be named the ambassador to Cuba, the first one, if we get to the point where we can get to that level of communication. I've been to Cuba. It's a beautiful place. And we boycott it, we embargo it, and all we're doing is hurting the Cuban people. You know, we're sitting here waiting for Castro to be overthrown by his country. It's not going to happen. I got news for you. Castro's going to die an old man, and we're wasting all this time. Let me put it in the connotation like this, Alex. That policy in Cuba is like a football game. You come in with a game plan. If you get to the fourth quarter and you haven't scored yet, don't you think it's time you reevaluate your game plan?
Absolutely. It's been almost 50 years since the embargo, hasn't it?
Yes, and it's ridiculous. I was down there. Cuban people have to import milk from New Zealand. Now, we got milk right here in Minnesota. We could send right down the river to them in the Mississippi and right across the Gulf. It's a win-win situation. Why do they stand in the way of a win-win situation?
Well, I'm no fan of the corrupt government they had before Fidel, but it certainly was very corrupt after. The issue is, and most sociologists and historians agree, the embargo helped Fidel Castro. If we had all been friends and nice and opened it up and kept all the hotels and casinos there, he would have gotten thrown out very quickly. The fact that the West was antagonistic allowed the Soviets to fill that vacuum and allowed things to deteriorate to the point they are now.
Well, and the point of the matter is, the Cuban people, I've met them, they're a very proud people, and they're not going to be dictated to by us. If they want Castro gone, they will do it, and they don't need us prompting them to do it or us to do all the stuff behind the scenes. People need to realize, way back in the 60s, we were practicing terrorism on Cuba. We were blowing up ships in their bay. We were attempting to assassinate their leaders. We were doing all these acts of terrorism, but we fail. You know, one of the things that irks me, I sit outside the country and watch the U.S. now, and Alex, our ego is unbelievable. We can never admit we're wrong, and it's like our way or the highway. And I just don't think in the world today you can live that way.
Well, I agree with you, Jesse Ventura. My issue, as we get ready to go to break here in a few minutes, I want to go ahead and start asking this question now. When you were down here in Austin back in October, you made the point that Obama was already fudging, that Obama was already going back from saying, day one, I bring in the troops, to 16 months, 21 months, now 50,000 indefinitely. And I know, as bad as Bush and Cheney were, you want to give him benefit of the doubt. But what I'm seeing is slick deception. He says he wants détente with Iran, but increases covert operations. And I have that mainstream news today.